I like that.
Wrote it down.
Activate. Oh,
Yeah. So this Activate Abundance is the new name Kevin and I came up with for the group. It's one where it takes everything that we've done so far and we're bringing it really to the next level. And so the first one is understanding the steps to activate abundance. And over the next year or so, these are the topics I really want to go over, at least for once a month, every other meeting. There we go. And today we're going to talk about the first two of paradigms and desire, because those two are the building blocks that either stop you or allow you to grow. So I think it's fair to go, okay, we understand that. It makes everything else fall into place, right? Because it's one where I know Joan said she missed it, but faith is another big one. Faith is when you can see the invisible, to believe in the incredible, and then to accomplish what the masses call impossible, right? Which is crucial when we want to get to where we want to go. Gratitude is another huge thing, because gratitude what allows us to see the world differently, right? Because if we're not in gratitude, we're in, competing mindsets where someone has to be better and we have to be worse. And when we can get out of that and into gratitude, it becomes so crucial. Auto-suggestion is very common among most of us. Auto-suggestion is the same as self-suggestions, right? Where we can say something to ourselves and we know it's real. Now, the great thing about auto-suggestions, it follows the same rule as the law of compounding, right? So if you hear it once, it's once. You hear it twice, it's really 3 times. When you say it 3, it's really 6 times, right? Because every time you say a suggestion to yourself, whether it's in jest or joking or seriousness, it takes root inside you at some level. So we're going to learn to really harness the power of auto-suggestion to accelerate your guys' progress. The next one is specialized knowledge, right? This is where, in the business world, we talk about niching down, right? But in general, it helps us to know what exactly we want, right? And the knowledge we need to get to where we want versus general knowledge. And then just having that, it really helps the auto suggestions, it helps the gratitude, it helps the desire, it builds everything. The one after that, and I probably won't do these all in order. I'll probably bounce them around based on kind of what's going on and what I think will help people. But imagination, right? I talk about a lot as far as the fantasy of what we think. Now, when we get to that, I'm going to go in depth, because it's not about imagination as if it wasn't real or it isn't real or it's a fantasy that we'll never obtain. It's doing things in a very certain way to where you go, oh my goodness, I'm already there now. And the imagination just brings it all together. Obviously, planning, that is huge, right? If you don't have a plan, you can never get to where you want to go. The one thing all of these groups have in common is going to be action, right? And you can't have action without a plan, right? It's one where if you don't have a plan and you'll just feel lost. It'll be as if I just threw you in the middle of the forest and I said, find your way home. And you I don't know where I am, right? Without the plan, you can't go anywhere. So after that, and we'll kind of touch about it today, is going to be decision, right? You make the decision that you want it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Now, this is one I'll start off with Sue. When she made the decision to go to that hair appointment, nothing got in her way. That is a true decision, right? It's one where I was talking to a client and they went, well, I'll do this. Well, except for when this happens. Oh, and when that happens, right? Now it's no longer a decision, it's an option. And we got to make it a decision, a firm decision. Then we got to have persistence, because no plan ever goes accordingly, right? There's always bumps in the road. There's always ups and they're always down. And the persistent one is the one that overcomes it the quickest, the easiest, the fastest, right? The next one is one that I love, is energy transmutation, right? That is taking energy we have in, whether it be another area of our life, and bringing it into what we want, right? There's things in our life where we go, man, I'm so excited. I love it. This is the best thing ever. And maybe it's in business where we go, in business, I'm just an all-star, a hot shot. Nothing can go wrong. But in my personal life, I'm a mess. Well, imagine if you had that same energy in business into your personal life. Or even reverse. If your personal life is perfect order and your business is a mess, having to bring the energy over, right? When you can transfer the energy over. Next is the subconscious mind, right? This is one where it's so crucial, because everything we do when it comes to desire, the paradigms, the gratitude, the auto-suggestion, to imagination, it all falls into the subconscious mind, right? The subconscious mind is amoral. It doesn't care what we plant in it. It doesn't care what we have become our reality. It will manifest it. And so when we can master the subconscious mind, it makes everything else that much easier. The brain is what a lot of people call the subconscious mind. But I want you to start thinking differently. I want you to see the brain as something as similar to your arm or your leg or your heart. It's vital, it's important, but it's not the subconscious mind. It's something completely separate. The brain, really think of it as the transfer station. It's the part that the subconscious mind goes to communicate to the rest of the world, right? To communicate to, what we want. And it communicates to our hand to move left or right. It does the communicating, but it's not the same as the subconscious mind. And when we can harness that power, it's one where when we get there, I'll talk about, experiments I do for fun, about how you can use the brain to transmit, thoughts into other people. And it's really cool. Intuition, right? We got to learn to start trusting our intuition, that we're going to reach our goals, and the things we do are designed to reach our goals. That's a little bit more advanced, and that's definitely going to be towards the end, because intuition is really hard if you don't have the other stuff in place. And then I feel like I would be doing you guys a disservice if at one point I didn't talk about fears and failures that we all experience, and what we can do when we do experience them, so we can know, okay, I'm having this fear. This is what I got to do to change it, to get over it, right? We all know failures happen, but we got to look at them as temporary moments versus going, well, I failed. Guess I'm going to give up now. Right? These are all connected, right? You can't have desire really without faith or gratitude or imagination or planning or decision, right? You can't have gratitude without persistence, right? You can't have the subconscious mind without desire. They're all connected. And so when we go through these over the next months, you're going to find that I'm going to be talking about desire, but gratitude is going to sneak in. I'm going to talk about faith, and persistence is going to sneak in, because you can't have one without the other. So with all of that fun stuff, we'll start talking of, if you asked 100 people if they want to be rich, I'm willing to bet all of them will say yes. But studies have shown, out of that 100, 95 will fail, 4% will be financially independent, and only 1% will be rich, right? It's even today when people talk about the 1%, right? It's a true statement that we listen overall to the 95% and we ignore the last 5%. So we got to start shifting our mindset to go, I want to be in the 1%. I want to be in that 5%. Okay. But why do so many of these people fail with the stuff they want? And the simple answer is that most people let their lives be shaped by their circumstances, right? The things that happen to them by all these external forces. and they conform to what they see as their limitations, right? They have created rules to live their life based on what they believe they can't do because of those external forces. And Rollo May, he once said, the opposite of courage is not cowardice, it is conformity. And I find that to be very true because our paradigms, right? There's Joel Arthur Barker, who does he's a futurist who did the business of paradigms. He said the paradigm is a set of rules and regulations that define boundaries. They tell you what to do to be successful within those boundaries, right? Then there's Adam Smith, who wrote The Power of the Mind. He said a paradigm is a shared set of assumptions. The paradigm is the way we see the world. And when we are in the middle of the paradigm, it's hard to imagine any other paradigm, right? It's hard to see any other world. Then there's the most amazing guy I ever met, Peter Gagliardo. He uses it as a paradigm is the unconscious set of rules we use to reach our current level of success, right? These rules, we don't even know they are there, but they determine our level of success. They're so deeply rooted in our subconscious mind. So when we look at it, your current life results is because of your current paradigms. And when we want to change our life, we either have two things we can do, right? We can start playing a new game altogether, or we can begin to change the rules that we are currently using to play our life, right? Play the game of life. And this is known as the paradigm shift. Now, there are plenty of people, right, who, let's say a sports athlete who has his career in, let's say football, and then he's like, you know what, I'm bored doing this. I'm going to change the game. And he goes to baseball, right? I think Bo Jackson is one who's really done that the best. But then they can also go into business, right? But scientists do it all the time. They go, man, I'm so struggling in my field that they switch fields, right? They choose a new game to play. Well, not everyone has that option, but we get to change the rules we currently use to run our life. So, paradigm shifts is just a change from one way of thinking to another is a good way to look at it, right? We're changing our ways, and there's just so many ways we can do that by motivation, rethinking, adapting, solving things, but how, right? That's the important question. How do we change our rules? It sounds so simple. Pete, you just change your rules. But how do we do it? Well, there's only two things you need to know to learn how to change it. The first one is where you are. The second one is where you're going. Now, I know what you're thinking. If it's this simple, why do we struggle? Because your paradigms want to keep you where you are. Your paradigm does not want you going to where you want to go. It's comfy. It's comfortable. It knows the rules, right? So what happens is we go, you know what? I don't even believe I'm smart enough to make this change. Or you go, you know what? I don't even believe I have the right tools or support system to make this change. I know I felt both of those in a lot of the stuff I've done in my life, right? And we feel this way because we are operating, again, from our current rules of success, right? If we go, I'm not smart enough to do that, well, that's because that takes a different set of rules. And what we need is an outsider who does not play by our rules to show us how to change those rules, because that outsider, he lacks investment that you have made in your old paradigm, in your old set of rules. He doesn't have those same rules. It's why so many people, when they just look at something and they go, oh, why don't you just do this, right? And then you're like, why didn't I think of that? It's been right in my face the whole time. It's because they don't play by our rules. They have their own set of rules. Now, with that outsider, I will say you have to make sure it's someone who has accomplished what you want, not someone who hasn't accomplished it. Right? Because a lot of times, and these are things I hear from my clients and I've said myself, and I'm sure you guys have said these things as well. Like, that's impossible, right? We don't do things that way. We tried something like that before and it didn't work. Oh man, I just wish it was that easy to do. I've said that one a lot, right? It's against our accepted policy. Let's get back to reality. I hear that one a lot. And then the one that I have seen the most is, if you have been doing this as long as I have, you would know what you are suggesting is absolutely absurd. And that one, man, in the business world, I hear that a lot. They say it's not possible because they've done everything. They've tried this and it didn't work. But you know what? Things have changed since they've tried it, and you don't have the same thought process. So what you want to do from this moment forward is I want you to create new rules, right? I want you to begin to trust your intuition, trust your non-rational judgments. Now that one may sound crazy, but you got to take the plunge and just be courageous, right? You got to take that leap of faith into that new paradigm, right? It can no longer be, I'll believe it when I see it, right? It's now, I'll see it when I believe it. Because once you do believe it, things begin to change, right? Because when your paradigm is swung in the right direction, man, it begins to cut the world into little tiny bits of information that will subtly change your vision of what's possible. But when it's swung the wrong way, it moves away from that information. It runs towards the paradigm you currently have, and you'll continue to see things as impossible. Or even at best, you'll look at it as it's inaccurate and other people are crazy. Okay? Because I want you to know it does not matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how many hours you put in. If your paradigm does not change, your results will remain the same year after year after year, because your paradigm is everything you think you are not. When you think you are not something, it means you don't think you can do it. Therefore, you'll never do it. So when you begin to change your paradigm, I want you to understand you don't change your world, right? You don't become a new person. You don't forget everything you already learned. You begin to expand, right, your world, right? If anyone plays video games, it's when you discover just a new area of the map where you go, oh man, this is a new area. I've never been here before. And you just begin to empower yourself with these new rules, because with these new rules, you're able to experience things in your world that you were unable to experience before. Okay. It's so important, because without making these new rules, you get stuck going, that'll never work for me. I get that works for Patty, but that will never work for me. Right. That's what ends up happening when you don't allow yourself to change your rules. So when we think about shifting, right, it's creating new thoughts, new understandings, new behaviors, new habits, new way of being. The truth is, if you change one of these areas, it changes all of these areas, because you can't change your habit without changing your behavior. You can't change your habit without changing thoughts. You can't change your thoughts without changing your way of being. They're all connected. So you just begin creating these new rules. So to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. It's such a powerful thing once you do.
Here we have some traffic lights.
Before we go to that,
Here we have
the next video is your paradigm in action. And this is one of my favorite videos. It's short, it's maybe a minute, but it shows you how powerful your paradigm is. And in just our everyday life.
Here we have some traffic lights or stoplights. I've put a cyan filter over them now. Now red light can't pass through a cyan filter, yet you're still seeing the red light, right? Well, I can guarantee you that there is no red light there at all. There's no red at all. It's your brain working overtime convincing you of the red. Can I prove it? Well, I can try. Let's block out the rest of the traffic lights. Now look, it was grey all along. There is no red.
Okay, so I guess it was a lot shorter than a minute. But it shows where I read a story where this scuba diver was freaking out, right? Being underwater. He was freaking out because he goes, something wasn't right. And it wasn't until someone said, you know, when you're at that depth, you can't see color anymore. And he was like, well, what do you mean you can't see color? He goes, well, at that depth, the light level stops all color from being seen, and everything just kind of looks grayish and dark. And he goes, yeah, but there's a lot of Budweiser cans at the bottom of this, and I can see the red so clearly. And what it is, it's your mind going, I know there's supposed to be red there, so I'm going to make red go there, right? That's a rule it has at an unconscious level. So when it has that rule, it has to make it happen. It has to make it real. But once you remove all the things that make it so that rule is necessary, you get to see things for what they are, right? You get to see that with the filter, it really was gray. There was no red once the filter went on. So what we're doing is we're just changing our perception, our rules of how we see things. So from that, we only need one quality to win, and that is the definite of purpose, right? And that comes from the knowledge of what you want and the burning desire to possess it. And I should probably add making the decision that there's no turning back, right? So that gonna bring us to desires. The one thing that we absolutely need to make everything else work perfectly. So the desire is the effort of the unexpressed possibility within, seeking expression without through your actions. And it took me a little bit for me to really understand that, right? Because what we have is our highest self who goes, Pete, you are possible of anything. Sue, you can do anything you set your mind to. It wants to express itself, but it starts inside. It's seeking that expression coming out of you into the real world through our actions. So the question is, how do we get that feeling inside so it can express itself, right? That becomes the most powerful thing we can do. So the first thing we need to discover is, what do you really want, right? It's not what I think Joan wants. It's not what Patty thinks I want. It's not what Sue thinks, Joan wants. It's what do you really want? Don't worry about what your family says, what your neighbors. It's really, what do you want, right? Deep inside. Because this desire, make no mistake about it, it's the yeast that raises the dough. It's the gas that fuels the engine. Without it, nothing else will happen. And so when we think about it again, we talk about the KTF of growth, where it's, you know how to do it. You think you can do it, right? And these are run by your current paradigm. These will stop you from bringing abundance into your life if it's an area you want to grow in, right? If it's an area where you're already going, man, this is the best life ever. I know how to do it. I think I can do it. It's not hurting you because it's not a bad paradigm. But if it's an area where you go, man, I really want this new thing, right? I want more clients. I want more money. I want a healthier life. Well, if you go by what you know and what you think you can do, it's run by your current paradigm, and that will stop you. So what you need to do is you need to go to the fantasy, right? Because whatever you desire is up there in your fantasy. And the moment that you find those things that give you that burning desire, that stimulate you into action, you just name it and you claim it. You don't wait, you just make a decision, right? Because you need to resist the impulse to make the fantasy fit you. You must fit the fantasy, because again, your current rules will try and bring that fantasy down. Therefore, you're not living that fantasy. You're living a version of it, but not the real fantasy. You must fit the fantasy. You must go into that level of the fantasy, right? Now, with all of that, right, we know that desire is the starting point for all achievements. Everything in this entire world started out as a fantasy, was turned into a thought, into a desire, and we have everything, right? Whether it be the table we're at, whether it be a house or a car or a book, everything once started out as a fantasy, as in someone's mind, where other people went, "You're crazy, you're insane," right? No one ever gonna want that, but they stuck to it, right? Because you will not achieve what you want if there's no desire, right? If you do not desire something, nothing you can do will get you there because you don't want it. You have to desire it. And a common misconception is they say desire is hope, a desire is a wish. No, no, the desire is not hope. A desire is not a wish. It's a definite goal that you have decided to reach, even though you have no idea how to reach it. But you are so determined to break through a door, to get to an appointment. That is desire, right? You have a definite goal in mind that nothing is going to keep you from it. Nothing physical, nothing mental. You're just going to reach it. That is true desire. So a question someone asked me, they went, "Pete, what's the difference between wishing and then being ready to receive something?" And it's kind of what I talked about before. No one is ready to achieve anything until they believe they can acquire it, right? It's not, "I'll believe it when I see it." It's, "I'll see it when I believe it," right? You must have that open mind. You must have faith that you are reaching your goals, right? If your mind is closed off, you can't inspire faith. You can't have belief. You can't even have courage. Because I want you to know and really remember this. It takes the same amount of effort to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than it does to accept misery and poverty. It takes literally the same energy. But most people don't choose where they put their energy. They let life decide for them. They conformed to the life they had based on external things happening in their life, right? They let their current rules dictate that they have to be miserable and live in poverty. But when you create those new rules, it takes the same energy to demand abundance and prosperity. It's so important to remember that because, again, fantasy, that is our superconscious, that is our higher self telling us what we're capable of. Then it consciously just becomes a thought, right? A want. We go, "Man, I really want that." Well, you have a choice now. You go, "Man, I really want that. Do I want to desire it? Is it really that important to me?" How many times have we wanted something that just faded away? Well, because a want won't ever come to fruition. This is where a lot of people end up stopping the process. They go, "Man, I really want a new car. All right, I'm done," right? And they just let it float off in the air, into space. They never made it a desire because want plus the emotion is the desire. And emotion comes from the subconscious mind. You have to plant it into your subconscious mind. Now, you can't plant it in your subconscious mind until you change your rules because everything's connected. Once you change your rules and go, "There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I want this. I desire this." Well, then it becomes a physical result through your actions. Okay? The moment you get that thought, you have a choice. Do I want to put emotion into this? Do I want to put feelings into this? Do I want to make this thing come true? Because the moment you make that decision to add emotion and then to hold on to that emotion for the rest of eternity, nothing will stop you. No door can get in your way that you will not break down, right? it will become a physical result once you add emotion. Now, with all of that, I want you to understand, this is important, you can't force desire. You can't force yourself to want something. You have to let it happen. You have to let it build naturally through repetition. It's not about just planting the seed in the garden of your mind and never tending to it. Like any good farmer, you go out there every single day to water it, to nurture it, to pull out the weeds that could be killing it. That happens through repetition. That's when desire builds, right? No desire becomes unstoppable the very first time you think about it, right? You go, man, I would really like a new car. Yeah, I'm going to put my energy into it. And you go, all right, I'm going to get a new car. I'm going to put money in the bank. Every week, I'm going to put, $200 in the bank. And in a year, I'm going to get a new car. I'll have enough credit and blah, blah, blah. Right? And then, oh boy, the dishwasher breaks. You go, well, all right, I got to take that money out that I was saving for a car. Ugh, I give up, right? I'll never get that car, right? You let that moment of defeat stop you. But you didn't live through repetition. You didn't let it build, right? Every day, if you're going in there and every week you're building on it, then something happens, you don't get pulled down. You go, you know what? Something better is going to come along. You know what? This is actually a good thing because this proves by me continuing with this process, I truly desire what I really said I want. The universe will test you to make sure it's what you really desire. And you have to be willing to understand that when it comes and it tests you, it is going to reward you for holding on to that desire. But you got to prove that you're holding on to it. Right? So if you know what you want, right? If you know what your goal is and you know that your goal is right? And you fully believe in your goal, do it. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. Don't say, hey, next year I'll get started, because you know what? Next year never comes. It's always a year away. Tomorrow's always a day away. You start doing it now, right? You start taking action on what you want. So you need to start learning and accepting. You have to forget what they say if you're met with that temporary defeat, because they do not understand that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. And that gives you the power of perseverance, right? Because a lot of those people, they don't have what you want, but they'll be the first one to tell you you can't get it. And if there's one thing I've learned in my life, is that when they tell me that it's impossible, when they tell me it can't be done, well, all I need to do is look at their life and what they've accomplished, because their paradigms have got them to that level. And if I don't want what they have, then I shouldn't listen to their paradigm. I should be listening to people's paradigms that will go, that is right. That is how you get to where you want. That is how you do what you want to do. Because those ones will bring you that success. But the other ones will hold you down. And they have the best intentions, right? These aren't mean, malicious people. These are people who genuinely love us, who want what's best for us. But they don't understand. They don't understand that every failure brings with it the seed of equivalent success. So you need to learn to forget what they say, to learn to ignore what they say is impossible. Because it's not impossible to you. It's impossible to them. Because every desire will be met with any of the 31 reasons for failures and the 9 basic fears we all have, that we all come in contact with, right? But success comes from meeting those reasons and being a person who does not quit. Because let me tell you, these reasons for failure and these fears, they don't sound like nonsense. They sound completely real, where you go, man, right? If only I take one more class, I will have the knowledge I need to do what I want. But then you take that class and it goes, well, now there's one more we need to take. And then you take that one, then you go, well, now there's one more, right? It's your paradigm is slowing you down, right? It's giving you a solid reason for why you're going to fail, but it's not a real reason. It's only a reason because you let it be a reason, right? There's a quote where it goes, you can have results or reasons. You can't have both. And if you allow reasons to enter your life, you can never get the results you want. So it's important to understand that, yes, these things will sound so logical. They'll be what your friends tell you that you're already saying to yourself, I don't know how to do it. I don't have the money, right? Everything will happen in the right time as long as you keep persevering, as long as you keep pushing forward and trusting in your desire with what you want and having the plans and the goals, it will get you there, right? Because it's during these times of struggles and crisis that we have the opportunity to meet our other self. We have the opportunity to meet that stronger person inside of us that we never would have met if we didn't persevere, right? So no one is ever defeated until defeat is accepted as a reality. In this one, you can think of so many people in history that were met with enormous reasons to accept defeat, but none of them did, right? One of the best ones I think of is Helen Keller, right?
Yeah.
She accomplished so much for being someone who was blind, who couldn't hear, right? And people kind of just wrote her off. She could have easily accepted defeat as her reality, but she said, no, that's not what my limit is. And she went on to accomplish so many things. Thomas Edison, right? He's one where we always talk about how, was it 1,000 tries to invent the light bulb? He could accept it defeated at any moment. But he never accepted it as his reality. And the world changed because of it, right? Henry Ford with the V8 engine, it was one where everyone told him it was impossible. And it changed the world because he never accepted it as his reality. So no one is ever defeated until defeat is accepted as a reality. So talking about desire, we always like to think of desire as a good thing. But the truth is there's a dark side to desire. Because the moment we are conceived, we are pre-programmed with undesirable desires. We are pre-programmed with the genetic DNA from both our mom and our dad, with their limitations, with their beliefs. Right? And then when we're born, we come into this world and we're like an open cup. We're just absorbing everything that gets thrown into us, the good, the bad, the neutral. And then there comes a time where a lid goes on that cup and we get our conscious mind. But everything inside that cup, we believe as our desires of what we want, of what we believe we can do and to believe what we can't do, right? That makes the difference between, a kid that's successful in school versus a kid that struggles. Right? The kid that's successful, man, I guarantee his parents probably were successful. The ones that struggles probably get told that maybe he was stupid, right? Or that he was never good enough, right? There were times in my life where from my teachers, from my parents, from, the guidance counselor, it was always, Pete, why can't you be like your brother Adam? He's so smart, right? Now, that is a program that I heard from the time I was 6 years old till high school, right? That is a desire that I had inside me that I was not good enough like my brother. It was there and I didn't even know it, right? Because then it come the moment where I went to high school, I went to a different high school, and I was like, I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to be someone new, right? But my paradigm fought me every step of the way, because those new rules are not in harmony with the rules that you currently have, right? The rules that you're currently using to live your current life. And so what you got to do is you got to have that perseverance through repetition to grow those new rules, to reinforce them, to allow everything to become your reality. And then the other dark side is that honestly, your fears that you have now are your desires. Desires are not good, desires are not bad. But what you have now is based on your current desires. And when you are afraid to do something, it's because that's your current desire. You need to build something stronger to get over that. But your fears, right? They sound logical. They become so vibrant in your mind. You go, no, I can't see myself doing that, right? It's so vibrant, it's crystal clear. Those are your current paradigms telling you who you're not. So any idea that's held in the mind, that's feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available, right? Whether it's feared or something you truly want, it doesn't matter what it is. It's gonna begin to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form. This, yeah, this is one of the things that for me was a big light bulb, because it allowed me to begin to go, holy cow, like these things that I fear, they're not real, right? They're my old rules, and I had to create new rules. Right? It's one where, in my 90 Days to Better You book, that's why rules become an important part in it, right? There's a whole section on creating new rules that you're going to live by. Because when you create those new rules, and every day you read those new rules, every day you reinforce them, they become so strong. They become so powerful. They begin to close themselves in the most convenient and appropriate form available, which is what you want. You become that farmer who now is weeding out the inappropriate rules, the rules that no longer matter. You're now planting and growing the ones you want, right? Whether it be corn or wheat or, whatever a farmers grow. You begin to plant it purposefully, which means you don't plant a corn seed and expect an apple tree to sprout, right? When you plant a corn seed, you get corn. When you plant an apple seed, you get an apple tree. It begins to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. So you got to decide, how do you want your life to look like? Do you want it to be full of fear, failure, doubt, right? Or do you want it full of prosperity, abundance, and success? You get to decide, right? Imagine yourself now at a fork in the road going, what do I want? One, you're just going to have to go, you know what? That means I got to take this out and this out and this out and plant this. But that's good, right? Because once it's planted, it takes equal effort for it to grow, just like the failure, fear, and doubt. It takes no more energy, but you got to plant it first. So how do you build desire and activate abundance? So it's important that as you think of your desires, as you write your desires, and as you read your desires daily, you need to see, you need to feel, and you need to believe yourself already in possession of your desired outcome. Because again, if you see it in the future, it will always be in the future. If you say, next year, I will start this, well, then next year will become 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, because that's what you're saying. But you're going here and now. I am so happy and grateful that I am achieving all these things. That is so important. So again, we got to start thinking upside down, right? We got to start thinking it the new way. We got to see our goal, right? We got to see and picture in our mind so clearly what we're doing, right? And this takes our imagination, this takes fantasy to see there. And then we go, okay, so what is that version of me doing that I'm not doing now? Right? And we go, oh man, that person, oh, they dress a certain way, right? Their confidence is beaming, right? The food they eat, right, is different. You get to see what's different. And then you get to take action going, okay, my new rules are I'm going to be doing all of those things from this moment forward. That becomes your burning desire every step of the way. So the 6 steps really to activate abundance as seen in the 90 days to better you, it's really all in there where you fix in your mind exactly what you desire and you write it down, right? That is your goal, right? That is who you see in the morning ritual, the desired goal as if it's already happened, right? I'm so happy and grateful that I'm, living the greatest life ever. I have a new car and right, I'm new job and whatever you want, you write it down, right? And then you add pictures, right? Because I'm a very visual person. I love pictures. You add pictures to it so you can look at it, see the pictures. You can see yourself in those pictures doing all those things. Then you got to determine exactly what you're going and what you're willing to give in return for what you desire. And you write those down. Those are your rules to follow. Those are the rules that every day you're going to use to reinforce, right? As the auto suggestion that you're going to be getting what you want. Because with everything, we go, oh man, from this day forward, I'm going to eat more chicken and broccoli. And the next thing you have a cheeseburger, right? Because it still needs to be reinforced, right? But then if you still read it every day, maybe come day 4 or 5, you find yourself going, man, I'm eating more chicken and more broccoli. By day 10, you're like, man, I haven't had a cheeseburger in like 2 weeks, right? You get to see your rules coming to life. Because then we continue to change your paradigm, right? Your old paradigm by building a new, stronger one to make the old one obsolete. That's through the gratitude that we write down every single day, right? That's when we take the daily actions to reach our goal, right? Where we go, you know what? These are 3 things I did really good today, right? This is the one thing I am going to do better tomorrow because that's your planning. You're creating these new results. You're planning. You're following that path to get you out of that forest. And then you take daily action, right? You read step 1 and 2, right? Your goals, your desires, your rules every single day. And you live them. You feel the emotion. It's not just words, because if it's just words, you might as well be reading a dictionary. It's the emotion, right? It's when you go, man, I'm so happy and grateful that I have $1 million in my bank account. Well, it's the emotion involved in that because, man, now I don't have to worry about paying my electric bill. I don't have to worry about, am I going to have my car towed? I don't have to worry about, my 9 to 5, right? You get these new feelings inside you. And then you have your rules that every day you go, you know what? That means I'm going to, take my skills to the next level. I'm going to reach out to 3 people every day to talk about my skills. I'm going to do this and do that. That way I get my $1 million. And then you go, you know what? Today, man, I really got up late today. So tomorrow I'm going to get up earlier. Right? Now you're reinforcing everything. You're creating that anchor. It's one where you could do this with everything you do. It's amazing, right? And anyone who does NLP or hypnosis, we talk about anchoring all the time. Imagine if you anchored in these good feelings, right? These desires every time you brush your teeth. Imagine if you anchored them in every time you started the car, or every time you picked up a fork, or every time you put slippers on, or every time you put your clothes on, or everyday things you do every day. Every time you looked at your phone, imagine how strong it would be if you anchored into doing those everyday things, right? Because daily you need to write down what you're grateful for, what you did to reach your goal, and what you're going to do better tomorrow. That is what creates the paradigm shift. That's what everything in this book does in such an easy format for you to create all these changes so naturally, so effortlessly. So over the next 4 weeks, I want you guys to take time to master building your desire, right? I want you to build it. I want you to dream it. I want you to name it. And I want you to anchor it into everything you do. Every time you eat, every time you start your car, every time you brush your teeth, anchor it in. Because the more things you anchor it into, the stronger it becomes, the more you let it grow. You don't have to force it. You don't have to try. You just let it grow. You keep it, that burning desire building inside you. So it becomes like this crystal clear image in your life. And one of my favorite people once said, and I hope she's okay with me saying this, what we focus on, we get more of. What we are consistent with grows. What we feed multiplies. What we say gets repeated. And what we are grateful for, we focus on. And it goes all the way back. What we focus on, we get more of. What we are consistent with grows. What we feed multiplies. What we say gets repeated. What we are grateful for, we focus on. This is so powerful. When Patty told me this, I was like, it was amazing.
Couldn't believe I said it, right?
You said it. I put your name.
Yeah, I did. I said, but you couldn't believe I said it, right?
Well, I couldn't believe I never thought of it like that in that way. Because that is everything in a nutshell, right? And it's one where if I feel like if you guys haven't gotten this, it's something you're missing out on. Because it does. It has everything in there from your desired life to what rules you're gonna have to get there, and things you're grateful for, and things you did good, and things you're gonna do better. And it shows you to spend timing on yourself, because when you do it every day, it builds your desire, it builds passion, right? And it's one where with my own clients, they have seen massive success with it in so many areas of their lives, not even the ones they just come to see me for. Like they just use it for every area of their life now, which I think is amazing. And I know I was going to single out Patty because I know she had something to say with this too. So now I'm going to single out Patty.
What do I have to say? Oh dear. Our conversation was a week ago, Peter.
It was a week ago.
I got this book and it was it was like a I don't know, it hit me over the side of the head. I call it V8 moments. When I'm speaking, I'll say, what's your V8 moment? And they'll go, what? I said, your aha. It's called a V8 moment. And so, and laugh because I talk about peanut butter and jelly on the ceiling moments too. But I was in a direct sales company. I was in Mary Kay Cosmetics for 20 plus years. I'm still there, but not as active as I was. I told Peter, I said I was too dumb to doubt. I just looked at what I needed to do and I just did it. It became my desire. It became my, I changed what I was doing. And I used so much of what's in Peter's book, to get where I wanted to go. I studied a book on affirmations and I wrote affirmations and I repeated them and I put them to music and I had them on a player and I had them on a DVD and a cassette tape, for heaven's sakes, years ago. And so they were all over I trashed my house with these quotes and sayings. I even put the first car I earned in less than a year, and I put the poster on the top of on the ceiling above our bed. And my husband came home and he said, that's not really what I I said, well, you're going to see it in the garage. And so it wasn't that many months until we finished. Well, it was 6 months till we finished that car. And then the directorship came the same way. And it was all from visual. It was all from posters. It was all from a vision board. And so I took the inside pages of Peter's book and created my own vision board in reference to what I have down as my goals and dreams and desires. And so, and that all of the pictures go along with what I'm listing in my morning ritual. So it helps me what it is I want, what I see for myself and family in the next, whenever period of time. There's no time limit on it. It's just that it's there and I know it'll happen. And so putting all that together was really an empowering thing for me, because it was like, getting back to work and after mom passed away, and then, getting reacclimated again and thinking in another direction. And I've got 2 people that I've set with their books, and we're meeting again to see where they are and what they're doing. I want to meet with each of them individually, and then I want to meet with them again as the 3 of us. And then I have another gentleman that I'm going to start him on his this next week, just because of a lot of things that have happened in his life and what he wants and where he's going. And so it's just been real helpful. So if you haven't done it, it sounds like a commercial for Peter, but this is a commercial for you, is that I think it'll be a benefit. I think it'll be, it just puts it all together and it puts it in one place. And I've seen a lot of people try to incorporate books and schedules and things like that. And nothing in here is scheduled. I think that's why they fail and why this won't. And that just came to me, Peter, you can use that. But this is not put into a schedule. It's put into your fantasy. It's put into your head. It's put into your thoughts. It's put into your actions. It's put into your choices that you make. And so it's different than when they try to incorporate some of those same things into planners. And that's why I've seen that they don't work, because you're too busy looking at the schedule. Who am I got an appointment with? Where am I supposed to be? What time is it? What am I doing? And this is a dream book. It's a fantasy book. It's to get you going and get you there. And so I think that's why they don't work. Just figured that one out.
Yeah.
Peter, hearing this
Yeah.
entire program tonight, my entire life flashed before me.
Oh, boy.
It was fabulous. And that paradigm shift, that's fascinating. When I first moved up here, I was losing my vision. And I reconnected with my former hypnosis instructor. She was not the guild, but anyway. So I was telling her about losing my vision, and she said, "Oh, Sue," she said, "you can't practice hypnosis anymore then. You have to be able to see your clients." And it just came right out of me. I said, "Don't you dare put that out in my head." I said, "I totally disagree. You don't need your vision." And so she couldn't say anything. She calls me a week later. She said, "I thought you'd like to know. I had a totally blind psychologist from Boston call me who wanted to learn hypnosis, and I took her into my class." So I think I helped create a paradigm shift for her too.
Yeah. I had a paradigm shift that I used to use this example, and it's out of our industry, when people were like saying no, they couldn't, and it was too hard or whatever. And I said, well, let's have a paradigm shift, because I taught, when I was a sales director in Mary Kay, and led a unit and a group of women and a guy. And the paradigm shift I used with him was that, you're coming home on a train from Chicago, because we lived up in that area. And I said, there's a gentleman on the train, and he's got 2 young children with him, and he's just letting the kids run rampant. I mean, they're running, and you're getting really frustrated with that because they're noisy and they're loud, they're disruptive, they're not sitting still. And the father is just kind of ignoring him, ignoring the whole thing. So, and you probably, when I tell you that, had a little emotion come up in you right then, in that, oh my gosh, I would hate for my kids to do that, What you find out before you get off the train is that they just left the hospital and their mother passed away.
Oh,
How does your paradigm shift happen? Sometimes it's just something that pops into our heads. It's that paradigm shift comes from a lot of different directions for us.
wow. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Oh, I made it up, Peter. So,
What?
but I used to use it all the time.
Doesn't sound made up.
Whatever
Yeah,
gets the lesson across.
Yeah, the one that I learned when I first became a hypnotist was, if you're at a red light and this guy in this red Ferrari comes flying by you and he just blows the red light, how do you feel? And I'm like, oh, pretty angry. He goes, okay. She goes, now, let's say you knew that guy in the Ferrari was running to the hospital because his wife was just in a life, altering crash. How do you feel about him now? I went, well, I feel for him. And he went, right, because now you know more about him. You're more understanding of his situation.
Yeah.
And it becomes this vital thing where that's a big part of when we change things is we get this new understanding of what we once thought we knew, but we realized we didn't know. We just assumed. So, do you guys have any questions for tonight too on what we went over?
That fears and failures, when you were talking, when you had the thing by Andrew Carnegie, that brought up for me the memory of my great-great-grandfather when he came over from Scotland. He built the first railroad station at West Point. He then got an invitation to meet with Andrew Carnegie, and he was too afraid to go. So he sent someone else in his place, and that person became one of the right-hand men to Carnegie. Talk about, what fear can do. It just stops you cold. Phew.
Yeah, fear's a killer, right? Fear stops people from success, from greatness. And fear sounds very logical. Like the fears we have, they never sound illogical. They sound like the most sane thing in the world. And we think people are crazy when they don't have the same fears. But the truth is the fears aren't a real fear. Because if it was a real fear, we would all have it. It's our perception of the event that gives us the fear, not the event itself. And when we can learn to understand and see the event for something different, right? That's when, the last training where the law of polarity, right? Where nothing is good or bad, it just is. We give it meaning. And when we can take something that we view bad and give it a good meaning, well, now the fear has no reason to be there anymore because now it's not fearful, it's exciting. But we get to make that choice. Now, the average person doesn't make that choice. He lets his external world determine if he should be afraid or not. They never make the choice for themselves. But when we want what we desire, we have that choice. We have that ability. And we need to always go, you know what? This is neutral at worst, good at best. Because anything bad is going to slow us down.
I had fear constantly when I first was diagnosed with MS. The unknown, what my prognosis was, what it was going to be like. And my lingo is different, or maybe I'm not understanding it quite, but I reframed. I shifted, and my gratitude for each day that I'm not in a wheelchair. I wake up each morning and I'm thankful, and I'm able to go to lunch and meet a friend for lunch, and I'm able to drive, and I'm able to do these things. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, but today I'm sitting here with you guys and I'm talking. I was able to get on the computer. I was able to do this. I have no idea what tomorrow is going to be like, but fear has changed and I've reframed it. I've used some of it as humor. I mean, there are some things that, I just think that, well, I was at a huddle house one time and I'd lost my balance. And when you have the fear of falling, you automatically grab onto something, and my hand went right into this guy's plate. Yolk, food just went everywhere. And he looked at me and I said, "Don't eat that." And he looked and he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because my hand's in it." "Let me buy you breakfast." And I explained to him what was going on and stuff like that. But it's a lot of stuff. And I'm on my fifth husband. Fear didn't stop me. That persistence. I knew that what I wanted was out there. I just was making some wrong choices, but learning lessons. They weren't mistakes. They were stepping stones for me to learn. And I have a 16-year marriage that I'm completely content with. And I'm not missing on anything like I thought I was in the past. But anyway, I won't take up any more time.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh,
It reminds me, in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks about this boy that was born without ears, right? And he couldn't hear, and his dad refused to let that be a setback for him, right? Every time he told his son, he goes, "Look, you have a superpower other people don't have," right? So now we're talking back in the 1920s and 30s. So he was like, think about it this way, he goes, when you go to sell papers and your brother's selling papers, he goes, you're always going to outsell your brothers because you have this superpower. And the mother was like, "Oh no, this is a disability. This is going to hold him back. This is going to stop him from being successful in the world." And the father was always like, "I'm never going to accept that as my reality," right? He's never going to accept defeat as a reality. And every day he taught the kid, he goes, "This is how you're going to do this. This is how you're going to do that." And, he always believed that one day the kid would hear. And this is one where people get confused, right? Because they'll go, "Oh, if I can do anything I want, that means I can grow my hand back if I lost it," type of thing. They get confused on that because it's like, well, you can get a hand back, right? Through technology nowadays, we have prosthetics that are so lifelike that, yes, you can get your hand back. Is it in the way that they're thinking? No, right? And the same thing with this. Every day he told himself that his son was going to be able to hear, and every day he told his son he was going to hear. And eventually they created a hearing aid for his son, and you could hear crystal clear, right? Because it's not always what we think we want that we get, right? But we got to look at whatever happens to us as a superpower. And I know sometimes that's really hard. I know it's hard to go, how can this be a superpower? But the moment it lands, you grab onto that reframe of it, of, man, this isn't pulling me down, this is boosting me up. Well, things around it change too, right? And it's the way you handle it changes, and the way you think and feel about it changes. And when all of that changes, well, yeah, you still have it, but it's no longer this thing where you go, "Oh, I can't believe I have this." You go, "You know what?
Exactly.
I got special treatment," right?
Well, I sometimes use that to my advantage. Like
Yeah.
when there's my in-laws and I don't want to go over there and I'm like, my MS. It's
Yeah,
acting up.
superpower. I couldn't do that. I can't get out of going to the in-laws now.
So
I like
that's,
my
I
in-laws.
mean, what was it, a while back, I woke up blind and I made myself chuckle. I mean, because I grabbed my phone and I thought, what the hell am I going to do with this? I can't see anything that I'm supposed to be hitting. And I chuckled at that because I was going to listen to music. Well, it ended up where I said Google and they did whatever they did, but I grabbed the phone and that just made me laugh. I mean, like, what, I just held it like, what am I supposed to do with this? It's funny how habits are formed and stuff like that, but
Yeah, it's amazing how like I love laughter. Laughter to me is one of the best things we can ever have because to me it's one of the purest forms
Mhm.
of energy and life. But that is everything I have for you guys tonight. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
I was reading Ron Esslinger's book. His book is excellent on the imagination and hypnosis. I have all my students get his book. But in there, he talks about some studies, of course, that were done with water and done with plants and stuff. So I've got this plant over here that was really starting to look rather sick. So I pasted a note on it saying, "I love you." And it's growing like crazy. So I put one on my other plant too.
That,
it works.
that's proven that, you know,
Yeah.
they can make a difference to a plant.
Yeah.
You know, they tried it at a school or a college
Yeah.
someplace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it works. It
Yeah.
really looks good.
Yeah.
I should paste a thing on my forehead. I love you.
You
Peter,
should
that
put
was
it-
excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
And it's only going to
Mm.
get better.
It's only
every
what?
meet going to get better.
You're breaking up.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. It's only going to get better from here on out.
Ah, good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause this is the bread and butter, and everything else is going to be the sweet, juicy toppings.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
I'll
Thank
let
you so
everyone-
much.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I want everyone to have a wonderful 2 weeks, a wonderful evening, and I look forward to the next meeting.
Okay.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care, everybody.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.